Okay, so this is going to be a one-take video. I'm kind of pressed for time here. I've got to get ready for work soon. But I want to talk about what's going on with Trump because Trump is fighting back against this DOJ gag order. And this really is a matter of free speech. And as you know, on this channel, we talk about preserving great art, music, history, culture, protecting free speech, freedom of expression. So that's what I want to talk about this. Story by Timothy H.J. Narazi says here, former President Trump pushed back on a Department of Justice request for a gag order regarding his prosecution, and the Trump legal team published a 25-page brief condemning the DOJ's request, citing freedom of speech and the necessity of transparency. Quote, the prosecution would silence President Trump amid a political campaign where his right to criticize the government is at its zenith, all to avoid a public rebuke of this prosecution. However, above all else, the First Amendment means that government has no power to restrict expression because of its message, its ideas, its subject matter, or its content. So let's go to the brief here. I'll just read you a little snippet. On August 1st, 2023, the prosecution publicly released a 45-page speaking indictment that read very much like a campaign press release. As if the indictment's media talking points were not enough, Prosecutor Jack Smith then held a press conference to deliver an incendiary attack upon President Trump, falsely claiming that he, quote, fueled an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy. And this is something that the DOJ is going to have to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt. You're going to have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this was Trump's intent. His intent was to upset American democracy, overthrow the government. This inflammatory rhetoric, which violated long-standing rules of prosecutorial ethics, was then repeated daily by media publications across the country. Following these efforts to poison President Trump's defense, the prosecution now asks the court to take the extraordinary step of stripping President Trump of his First Amendment freedoms during the most important months of his campaign against President Biden. The court should reject this transparent gamemanship and deny the motion entirely. Now, there was a similar case, but first I'm going to give you the definition of what a gag order is. I mean, I'm pretty sure you all know what it is, but legally speaking, and this is at Cornell's law site, Cornell Law School. Gag order is the term for when a judge prohibits the attorneys, parties, or witnesses in a pending lawsuit or criminal prosecution from talking about the case to the public. However, a court will scrutinize any gag order under the right of free expression, protected by the First Amendment. And there are three things they have to consider with this. One, the nature and extent of pretrial news coverage. Two, whether other measures would be likely to mitigate the effects of unrestrained pretrial publicity. And three, how effectively a restraining order would operate to prevent the threatened danger of an unfair trial for the defendant. So this is really a double-edged sword, what Jack Smith is doing here. Because he's got to make sure that what he's doing is not going to persuade a jury. Because the jury's got to be impartial. They've got to look at all the evidence and find whether or not a person is guilty or innocent based on that evidence. Now, there was a case, and this was called Carroll versus, in fact, they mention it here in this excerpt here from Cornell Law School. This case of Carroll versus Prince Anne. Now, in that case, this goes back to 1966. You had one of these hate groups that was having a rally on, or they held a rally on the steps of a courthouse in the town of Prince Anne, and this was in Maryland. And at the heart of this case, what happened was that the, I believe it was local authorities or the court, they had tried to place a restraining order on this rally, but they didn't let the people who were protesting know about this restraining order. So they appealed this. And they said, these principles are applicable to the present case. The underlying question persists and is agitated by the continuing activities and program of petitioners, whether what processes and to what extent the authorities of the local government may restrict petitioners in their rallies and public meetings. We agree with petitioners that the case is not moot. Since 1966, petitioners have sought to continue their activities, including to hold the rallies in Princess Anne and Somerset County. That's where Princess Anne is at. It appears that the decision of the Maryland Court of Appeals continues to play a substantial role in the response of officials to their activities. In these circumstances, our jurisdiction is not at an end. So here you have a case in 1966. People holding a rally, expressing these very racist, anti-Semitic views. And the court did not alert them, notify them of this restraining order, give them proper notice of it. So they went to court over it. Had to appeal it, if I'm not mistaken. So this all goes back to the First Amendment. How much government does the, or pardon me, how much power does the government have over the First Amendment? Now the article goes on to say, quote, the defendant knows that when he publicly attacks individuals and institutions, he inspires others to perpetrate threats and harassment against his targets, prosecutors previously claimed. The former president has cited the Constitution multiple times this week while defending himself from critics. Trump responded to efforts by Democrats to ban him from presidential primary ballots in 2024 on Monday, saying the U.S. Constitution protects him. So this is going to be an interesting case to watch here. President Trump fighting back, or former President Trump fighting back against this DOJ gag order. Story at Fox News. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do. You can also follow me at Instagram, #JasonComposes, because I write music in my spare time. Or you can find me at X, formerly Twitter, Culture Confederacy, at CultureConfed1 on X. This is the Culture Confederacy saying peace out. Stay safe, everybody. God bless this thing called the United States. I'll catch you next time, and you all have a great Tuesday.